Welcome to the 28storms.com tropical weather outlook for Sunday, June 26th. While the good majority of the Atlantic and Northeast Pacific hurricane basins are relatively quiet, we continue to focus on one main system out here near the Yucatan Peninsula that continues to be a tropical wave moving in a west-northwest direction, and at this time it's really not that far away any longer from moving into the southwest Gulf of Mexico and Bay of Campeche. We've been following this wave ever since it flared up on satellite imagery over here near the Windward Islands, and we've been alluding to the likely possibility of this system possibly developing down the road, and it still continues to look like we will possibly get a tropical depression or even tropical storm Arlene from this system before it moves into mainland Mexico. As we draw closer to the timetable for development, the National Hurricane Center should more than likely update or upgrade their probabilities of tropical cyclone formation within the next 48 hours. As of right now, it's only 20%, but if you go ahead and read the text of the outlook, they do warn that upper-level conditions will more than likely be favorable once this system gets into the open waters down here, and there more than likely will be some development before it hits the coastline. Here is a look at today's regional visible imagery, and before this tropical wave came through, much of the monsoonal trough activity was located way down here across the lower half of Central America into the eastern Pacific, but that tropical wave allowed this monsoon trough to be lifted north a bit, more toward the Yucatan Peninsula, and near the top end of this monsoon trough and tropical wave is where we're going to see the greater chance of any mid-level or low-pressure development up here, and that's going to give it more than enough room to work with over water as it continues to move westward. And at this time, it looks like it's going to have plenty of time over the southwest Gulf and Bay to really get its act together under fairly favorable upper-level winds aloft. On the latest infrared, you can see that nothing is all that impressive just yet, but we do have an organizing conglomeration of thunderstorm activity closer to Cozumel, Cancun, and points just to the south of that location as this mid-level circulation or vorticity begins to try to organize. And if you were watching yesterday's video, we also alluded to this. It looked like a mid-level circulation was beginning to develop just to the northeast of Honduras, and the 12Z European model from yesterday afternoon was indicating that this would be the primary feature to watch as it moves off toward the west-northwest toward the Yucatan Peninsula. And sure enough, it looks like yesterday afternoon's run of the European was spot on. And it looks like this mid-level feature is going to begin working its way down to the surface as convection continues to persist near it. And over time, we will more than likely see tropical depression and tropical storm formation. Latest trends from the water vapor satellite imagery indicates that upper-level conditions are becoming increasingly favorable for this thing to develop in the next 3 to 4 days. We have plentiful moisture now abundant all across much of the northwest Caribbean, southern Gulf of Mexico, and Bay of Campeche, and this is a bit of a change compared to what we saw even just a week ago. And not only that, but there are indications that an upper-level ridge is beginning to build over much of Central America, including the Yucatan Peninsula, and this is all going to spread westward along with our tropical wave, setting the stage for more organization. On the latest SIMS wind shear analysis, we can see faint indications of an upper-level ridge beginning to build over the lower half of southern Mexico, and that upper-level ridge is expected to build north into the Bay of Campeche and southwest Gulf, setting the stage for more development. Here's a more zoomed-in visible animation from this afternoon, and we can begin to make out some more mid-level turning here to the south of Cozumel. And I fully suspect that this is not going to do much over the next 24 hours as it moves west-northwest across much of the land masses of the Yucatan Peninsula. However, by the time this thing gets into the Bay of Campeche, it should be more than ready to begin organizing into a classified tropical cyclone. There are certainly no signs of a closed surface circulation at this time. However, if we look at some of the latest surface observations from the Yucatan Peninsula, you can begin to make out indications of a cyclonic circulation even at the surface here, and I suspect that the signs of this is going to steadily increase over the next 24 hours. Latest low-level steering analysis continues to indicate that the large subtropical Atlantic ridge is continuing to force our tropical wave west-northwest into the Bay of Campeche and Gulf. As of right now, if the pattern were to stay the same, there would be an outside chance of this continuing toward the lower half of the Texas coastline, but all model guidance continues to insist on the development of a much stronger subtropical ridge extending into the Gulf Coast states, which would push this system continuously westward into mainland Mexico. Over the last 1 to 2 days, the global model guidance has really backed off from development. However, today's runs are starting to become more aggressive again as they begin to outline more favorable conditions across where this system is headed. This is the latest 12Z European run. Here's the location of our low pressure center, possibly a bit too far to the south on this run, at least initially. But if we go ahead and look at 24 hours, we begin to see more signs of low pressure, not only over the Yucatan Peninsula, but also over the lower Bay of Campeche. By 48 hours or early Tuesday morning, we begin to see signs of organization down here just to the north of Mexico at 1,008 millibars. By 72 hours, we're definitely seeing strengthening toward a tropical depression, possibly even a tropical storm. This is at least a 1,006 millibar surface low. It's really hard to tell if it's any stronger because the isobars are packed together so neatly. And then by 96 hours, we're continuing to see signs of intensification, and this is now by early Thursday morning. This is more than likely a tropical storm bearing down on locations of Mexico in and around the Tampico area. And by day 5 or 120 hours, it's beginning to dissipate as it interacts with the coastline. And by 144 hours, there's really not much left. The latest 12Z GFS is also available at this time. And remember, yesterday, the model became a whole lot less aggressive on tropical development because it kept the low pressure center too far to the south and away from water to really give it much time and opportunity for development. And now this afternoon's run is now becoming more in line with the latest European. It's taking the low pressure area more off the coastline. This is by early Tuesday morning, and it's really beginning to show at least some chance of intensification here. And it's, again, a lot more north compared to yesterday, showing a potential track more toward north-central or the eastern half of north-central Mexico along the coastline. Even today's run of the 12Z Canadian CMC has come more in line with the thinking that we will get a brief tropical depression or tropical storm before it comes in near Tampico. As I run this is the sea level pressure map, and you will notice that, yes, it does lower the pressures a bit right before the coast. And in the dynamical models, even that little bit of a lowering of pressure would be indicative of a potential depression or storm. You can see the track a little bit better on the 850 millibar vorticity forecast from the Canadian. And I'll let it play one more time. You can see it develop and then begin moving northwest before it turns a bit more west to the south of Brownsville, Texas. The UK Met model is often one of the more conservative dynamical models. It shows tropical cyclone formation fairly rarely and a lot less compared to the other models, and it's really doing nothing out of the ordinary today. It does indicate that the tropical wave and associated broad low feature will begin moving more toward the west-northwest, basically in line with the same exact model track as the other models are entertaining. And it even tries to lower the pressures a bit here by early Tuesday morning, but not enough to really consider that development into a classified feature. And it begins to take it off toward Tampico and surrounding areas by 72 hours. Going back to the GFS really quickly, this is the shear forecast, and basically all of the models are showing a similar type setup. As of right now, if we go back and look at the Sims wind shear analysis, we would have seen a broad area of upper level ridging down toward the south over land, but as the GFS indicates that upper level ridge is expected to lift north, this is the 48-hour upper shear forecast, and we begin to see a favorable upper level ridge here, not only outlined by the streamlines, but also the darker blue colors, which are an indication that wind shear values are very low and favorable enough for tropical development. And as the system of interest continues to move off toward Tampico, that upper level ridge is expected to follow it. And some models show this a little bit better than others, and that's why we have some disagreements in the final intensity of our tropical feature. But overall, this looks like a pretty good environment for continued development. And once again, just to show you why we do not think that this system will be a threat to anyone along the United States Gulf Coast, is this mid-level ridge that's expected to fully be in place over much of this location. This is the 12Z ECMWF Ensemble average, and apparently all the ensemble members agree that the subtropical ridge will stay there, and this is a really strong area of high pressure, and that's not going to allow this developing tropical system down here to move north anytime soon. It's going to have no place to go but due west into Mexico. And not only do the ECMWF Ensemble members show this, but nearly all model guidance that we're looking at. In fact, every single model does show this. So, to put things in better perspective, just 24 hours ago, the key question was going to be whether or not this storm would gain enough latitude so that it would avoid much of Central America and then have a chance to develop as it begins to move more westerly over the open waters. And based on this afternoon's imagery, it does look like that more northerly progression has occurred, and it looks like this system will in fact have a lot of time over water. And not only that, but the upper level conditions do appear to be improving for tropical development, and some of the models are coming back in line with the idea that we will get a tropical cyclone out of this. And not only that, but it still looks like some of those models are even too far toward the south today with the initialization of the low pressure center. Some again still have it way down here when it looks like the best focus for cyclonic vorticity is closer to Cozumel. It's not quite that far north, but a little bit closer to them. And overall, I really do think that this will eventually be our first tropical depression and possibly even tropical storm of the season. If it did become the first tropical storm, it would be Arlene, and it looks like the more than likely outcome would be a landfall somewhere around this general area. As of right now, it still doesn't look like South Texas has much to worry about. So keep an eye on things, but especially if you live in Mexico, where it looks like this system has the best chance of making a landfall. So that sums up your tropical weather for this Sunday. Check back on the website for more updates soon. We will definitely have a new video by tomorrow afternoon at the latest. And even before then, we could have updates on the website, so go ahead and keep a close watch on that. And we also have some exclusive footage of the wildfire that is still somewhat out of control near the Gulf Shores State Park in Alabama. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested. And as always, we have a wide array of tropical weather monitoring links so that you can go ahead and follow the storm just like we do in these videos. So go ahead and check all of that out as well. Alright, that's it for now, so check back soon. Thanks.